Neuroplasticity, once you know it exists, then the hope automatically is there. And that hope is powerful.
So my channel is primarily about CFS recovery, but today is a little different. My guest today and I met through the hashtag neuroplasticity. So Phil harnessed the power of neuroplasticity to regain dexterity he lost from MS, and I used it to rewire my brain's reaction to exertion and the environment. Phil, I'm so glad to share your story.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You lead a program called Get Back Your Music. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's kind of my way of giving back after getting my abilities back. I decided to try to help other musicians with neurological disorders get their abilities back. And I wanted to do that in a jam session format, sort of a forum that musicians that know what each other is going through can get together and get back their skills again.
Yeah, and that's at the MS Center in Seattle?
Yes.
Yeah. So how did neuroplasticity as a modality first even come to mind? And hey, I'm going to try this. And the idea to start with playing music.
Well, music has always been a part of my life. And I was a musician long before I got MS.
So you're diagnosed in the year 2002. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I was actually working for a nonprofit organization, and there were some musicians that worked there as well. And one of them said, "Hey, Halloween's coming up. Let's put a band together and play for the Halloween thing they're having here." Okay, cool. I can play keyboards or whatever, And about 3 days before that, I was at work and I got lightheaded. My right ear started ringing. And then I noticed my whole left side went a little numb. And I didn't know at the time, but I had muscular weakness. So I got some water and then worked throughout the day. Ended up going home, telling my wife about it. She said, "Well, maybe we should go to the emergency room just in case it's a heart-related thing or, mini stroke or something like that." And so we did. The neurologist that I saw, he took a CT scan, he took an MRI. This is, over a period of the entire night and into the next morning. And then he came in with this entourage of interns and said, "Has any of your family ever had MS?" And I said, "MS? What's that?" "Multiple sclerosis?" I said, "No. Well, according to your CT scan and MRI, you have multiple sclerosis." I said, "Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll have to deal with that."
So what did the doctor tell you about the prognosis?
Well, then he started talking drugs, and I said, "I'm not ready to do that yet. Seems like I can still pretty much do everything I did before. So if I need a neurologist, I'll let you know." By then, I wanted to get out of the hospital because we'd been all night long. And so we went home, and then, I tried to pick up a guitar and play it. It wasn't going to happen. I just didn't have the strength. And not just guitar, but keyboards and drums. So that's when I thought, okay, my dad went through this, he invoked his neuroplasticity. I grew up with a father who had cerebral palsy and wanted to learn to play the family piano when he was approaching manhood. And he couldn't walk or anything initially, but his parents kind of said, "Well, okay, but your hands are permanently clenched as a part of your condition. So I don't know how you're going to do that." So they set him down at a piano and he taught himself to play with the first knuckle of each thumb notes. He kept that up, and all the while picturing full use of his fingers, and eventually his hands opened up and he was able to play the piano like normal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I thought, well, great, I can play piano now, but I like the organ better. So he took organ in college and became an organist.
Wow, that's such a wonderful story.
If he can go from not being able to play any instruments to playing the piano and then the organ, I'm going to get my ability back again. I'm just not going to quit, because music for me is a passion.
Yeah. Wow. So can you explain, how did you actually get back your musical abilities in your hands? And can you tell us a little bit about that?
I was holding a guitar. I figured, well, I can't play. My brain knows what to do, but my hand's not doing it. It's not cooperating. So what I had to do when I was getting my guitar playing ability back again was I had to set a small goal. And in my case, it was to play a G chord again, because it was, for me, that's the easiest one to do. I'm practicing on forming this chord, and then that's the first goal, really. And
Just
then,
forming the chord.
yeah, so small goals, baby steps. Once I got that where I could form the chord again, then it was a matter of continually trying, being relentless about it until the strength came back to where I could press down on the strings and actually make the chord. So I had to go from playing dead sounding notes to playing a G chord again. Once I got that, then I went on to scales. And I did that, of course, to sync my left and right hand together again, that for that muscle memory. And so I set these small goals basically, and then followed them through until I was confident, I was good at them, and then that's how I did it.
Thanks for breaking that down. So you said neuroplasticity starts with a thought, and it's about
passion, persistence, and repetition. In neuroplasticity, once you know it exists, then the hope automatically is there. And that hope is powerful.
And I mean, I didn't know about neuroplasticity when I was young, and I'm sure you didn't know about it when your dad was telling you this story. What is neuroplasticity really, in simple terms?
Well, it's basically the brain is plastic. It's adaptable and changeable. It's part of learning. Everything that you do with your limbs, you have to basically keep trying it. Even tying your shoes, right? You learn how to tie your shoes, and you're uncoordinated with it. You can't quite get it initially, but you keep going, and then finally you do get it. And when you do get it, your brain makes a new neural connection and stores it in memory. And that's what neuroplasticity is. So it can not only create new neural connections, but it can reroute neural connections from areas that have been damaged, either a disease like MS or Parkinson's disease or cerebral palsy, birth condition like that, or a stroke. I mean, that's how stroke victims recover, neuroplasticity.
Yeah, it's just so powerful. And the neuroplasticity program I did, it was inspired by how people who had strokes regain their abilities. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you then Get Back Your Music in, was it 2015? Can you tell us about that? How you got this all together?
Yeah, I thought, okay, how it really started was I was at an MS support meeting at the MS Center, and I didn't go for myself. I went actually to try to be of help to other people. I just wanted to help people and talk about neuroplasticity. So, but it happened that day that I went, there was a composer there who composed music for symphonies, pretty noted, a guy by the name of Richard Peasley. And he did like everything. He composed show tunes, he composed symphony related stuff. The guy was pretty brilliant. And he was in his 80s then. He did most of his composing on the piano. Well, he ended up with progressive MS. Ended up in a wheelchair and couldn't move very well. And so I told my story, and he looked over at the moderator and said, I like what this kid here was saying about your brain rewiring itself. I think I'm going to see if I can play the piano again. And that's when a light went off. Now I know what I need to do. Decided to meet with the patient education coordinator and said, I want to volunteer some time each week and help other musicians with MS get back their abilities on guitar and drums and whatever instrument they play. So that kind of got into the works. And on April Fool's Day of 2015, that was my first session, and a drummer by the name of Patty Patton, really cool that she'd been drumming for 45 years at the time, played with blues great Big Mama Thornton back in the 80s. And so she showed up with a guitar. I said, well, we can jam on some guitar, but I want you to get your drumming back. I want you to get your original ability back. She had trouble with her right leg and couldn't play the bass drum very well. Anyway, that's kind of how I got that started. And of course, we needed instruments. I had to bring my own to start with. And so I went down to Guitar Center in Seattle here and said, do you guys ever donate to charities or anything? Yeah, we do on occasion. So I said, well, I could really use a piano keyboard at the MS Center for my program. I told him about the program. He said, well, that's really cool. So he said, I'll talk to the corporate office. So he talked to the corporate office in California. And they said, yeah, give the guy a keyboard. So got it, brought it up the MS Center, locked it in their locked closet where they kept stuff. And that started it. And then more donations came in from residents donating guitars, like acoustic guitars. And then the next big ticket item was a drum set, which, I couldn't really use an acoustic drum set because it is a hospital. So I wanted an electronic drum set. And then King 5 TV did a news story, a HealthLink story about my program. And it turned out that the digital producer there was going over the story, saw that I needed an electronic drum set, called up the MS Center and said, hey, I've got an electronic drum set that's been sitting in my closet for 4 years and I don't play anymore. I'd like to donate it to the Get Back Your Music program. So that's kind of how we got the instruments. And then in 2017, I got a grant for $5,000 to complete those.
Went for a walk to see my baby. When I fell down to one knee, my baby thought I was proposing. Doctor said it was disease. But I ain't gonna give up walking.
Okay, so then Novartis, the pharmaceutical company, somehow finds out about this.
They are big into MS-related disease-modifying therapy drugs. And so their relationship with the MS Center at Swedish in Seattle goes back a ways. That MS Center opened in 2012, and they were the only MS Center anywhere to offer in the region anyway, to offer music therapy, free music therapy classes. So Novartis knew about this, and in December 2018, they decided that they wanted to pursue, of all things, non-pharmaceutical therapies for MS.
Wow.
Wow. So they sent two of their representatives, one from New Jersey and the other from Portland, to view the music therapy classes on Wednesday, and then my class on Thursday.
To get back your music.
Right. And they'd heard about Axon, the band that formed from the members of that. So the patient education coordinator came in with these two and said, yeah, they want to listen to you guys play a little bit and talk to you about the program. So I thought, great. And so they came in and listened to us play a few tunes, and we're just kind of a real captive audience. And then thought, that's amazing that you guys can get together, especially when they saw Patty, who has progressive MS, and it took her 15 minutes to get from her scooter to the back behind the drum set. And then she sits back there and just impresses the hell out of everybody with her playing.
I love it.
Well, that impressed them so much that they got word to the corporate office in Basel, Switzerland, and they decided to make a documentary style video of the power of music as therapy in MS. And so we all were involved in that, and pretty happy to be doing that, including the band. And so they did that, and then decided they wanted me to fly to Stockholm, Sweden around the time of the ECTRIMS meeting. It's a big conference, like the Comic-Con of neurologists and neuroscientists, so about 10,000 people. But they wanted me to speak at their worldwide MS meeting with 220 people, telling stories of how neuroplasticity has helped the musicians that I've been working with. And so that was pretty fun. It was a whirlwind trip, but I got to spread the hope of neuroplasticity on more of a global level, because these participants there, which were representatives from Novartis, were from 60 different countries, and they deal with providers in their specific countries. So that was pretty exciting.
That's amazing. So you said you shared 5 different stories. I assume Patty's was one of them. You told me a really good one when we first spoke.
Yeah, I talked about Patty getting back some of her bass drum, her ability in her leg. And that was interesting because we happened to be just jamming to a CD at the time, an MP3 file. And I started hearing all this kind of fancy footwork. And I said, wow, Patty, you're doing that. She said, yeah, I am.
I know a drummer, she played for decades. Man, she could sure lay down a groove.
And And then I've got a guy with Parkinson's disease who plays finger picking guitar, picks with his right hand, and kind of classical slash folk slash jazz even. And he was having difficulty with his right hand, there's a couple of fingers. And he showed me where he was weak on the guitar and on the keyboards. And so I gave him a couple of tips and told him my story. And he got excited about that. He said, well, I'm going to go home and try this. And so he went home and just right away, just relentlessly thought, I'm going to do this because it's possible. And so I saw him a month later and he'd already improved considerably. And now, of course, you can't even tell there was ever a problem. And then I talked about this stroke victim. Our latest guy came around, started listening to the band, brought a harmonica with him. He came and jammed with us. And he had a severe attack in 2008. He was camping. He wasn't near any hospitals. And he got severe damage on the left side of his brain. And it affected his speech. So he had something called Broca's aphasia. And he had pathologists working with him on trying to get his speech back again. And I had read where there's this technique that music therapists use called melodic intonation therapy, where you can sing the syllables of words, and that it's easier for people who have Broca's aphasia to actually sing the syllables of words than to speak them, and that it has helped people get their speech back. So I thought, well, I'll give it a try on it. So we're driving home after session, get back to music sessions. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to give you 4 notes because I heard you wanted to say the word Kilimanjaro again.
So was there any significance to Kilimanjaro?
Yes, there was, because this is a guy who did everything. He was a pastor of his own church. He climbed Mount Everest. He climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. He whitewater river rafted. This guy was really active. And then all of a sudden, this stroke took all that from him. But he really wanted to say Kilimanjaro again because that was his favorite mountain to climb. So I said, all right, I'll give you 4 notes and we're going to try to get you saying Kilimanjaro again. I said, so sing this, Kilimanjaro. So kind of a tribal thing. So we're going Kilimanjaro, Kilimanjaro for like 25 times. And then I stopped and he looked over at me and he said, oh, Kilimanjaro. And he spoke it for the first time in over a decade.
That's so amazing.
And now he says it all the time. Kilimanjaro, Kilimanjaro. I went on to saying Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, So that happens is because we use the right side of our brain to sing, but we use the left side to speak, and his left side was damaged. So when he finally said Kilimanjaro, I said, okay, now Eric is his name. See, Eric, the right hemisphere of your brain made new connections to the left hemisphere of your brain where there's no damage so that you could say Kilimanjaro. I said, that's neuroplasticity. And I told this to the people in Stockholm and they applauded, big applause for that. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, this works. This is hope. This is hope and it's amazing.
That's so wonderful. And they get to spread that message too.
Yeah, they had phones and everything going. And, yeah.
That's just so wonderful. So yeah, can you tell me more about your band Axon?
Yeah, Axon is kind of sprang from Get Back Your Music. It started out, I was doing one-on-one sessions, which I still do or did before COVID-19 anyway. And the one-on-one sessions were for people a little more, they don't want to be in a group type situation. But other musicians, like Patty, for instance, she loves playing with other people. I mean, she was used to that. She was pro, most of the people are in the band were pro, were in bands and stuff. And so I thought, well, yeah, let's get a group band together, kind of put together an MS Center band so we can do functions like, the MS Center barbecue, raise awareness. People can bring their families, care providers, and show them that we're not just going to lay back and give up on everything. We're going to do what we love to do. And we're going to do it together because we're going to do it with people that know what you're going through. So even though there's a difference between MS and Parkinson's disease, from a musician's standpoint, they're both degenerative diseases and they both take away abilities. So you have that camaraderie. There's something powerful about getting together as a group and trading stories, of the successes and the failures when you were in a band, playing clubs in particular, those kind of things. And then to sit down and jam to a song you all know,
So
And
what's your favorite music to jam to?
oh, it's blues and rock and a bit of jazz, the good older jazz. So we're doing everything from, Bryan Adams,
Oh, I
Somebody,
love Bryan Adams.
and
Yeah.
everything from Somebody to You Give Me Fever, and that's kind of a cool jazz song to do. And then a little bit of Johnny Cash and Glenn Campbell,
Ooh,
you know,
yeah.
stuff like that. So,
What Johnny Cash songs? I know there's Walk the Line, Big Bad John,
well, we do Folsom Prison Blues.
A Folsom Prism. That's good. Yeah.
In fact, see, I don't know if you can see this, but
Oh, I
that's
see it. I love
official
it.
badge that I found later on. And so I thought whenever we play that, let's either wear it on my strap or one of our band members comes in. They got a Department of Corrections jacket that has a place for a badge on it. So
I love it. Getting in character. That's awesome.
yeah, so we do that one. And then the guy that had the stroke, Eric, I have him grab an E-harp and he does the train whistle with it.
Ooh.
So it's fun. So you get together in this, and that's what I wanted with Get Back to Music. I wanted a fun forum that people could get together and just work on getting their skills back, but at the same time have the camaraderie, the laughter, you got to have a sense of humor,
Yeah,
So,
that. I love how you mentioned that because I think fun and joy and the community is an underrated part of our health.
yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, so you've been jamming on Zoom now, but is it looking like you're going to get back in person soon, or?
Yeah, in fact, we're going to start with apparently the music therapist who is a neurologic music therapist. She got together with the physical therapist and they thought, hey, let's get Phil and Patty together and have them do these soundtracks and just have a specific bass drum thing, but different tempos. And they'll use that for aiding people in walking to rhythm, to a beat, which is a really great idea. Up to now, it's kind of been the music therapist, where she's strumming chords 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. But Patty and I can do something funky and make it, people can have fun walking to this.
Oh, that's so awesome. So we talked about neuroplasticity. Anything else you're excited about in terms of MS research and other areas?
Well, I'm excited about this messenger RNA
Mm.
they're using for these vaccines because that can open up some serious doors for retraining the autoimmune system not to attack the myelin sheath in MS patients. So there's some exciting stuff going on there.
Yeah.
And neuroplasticity wise, my main goal these days is to get that word out about it to everybody I possibly can in the world. And I try to do it on Facebook. I try to do it on Twitter. I've got to get back to music page on both of those. My Twitter page actually has some celebrities following it.
Oh, nice.
So good moral support, and these are celebrities that a lot of young people might not remember or have heard of. But there's some guys from the 60s and the 70s and 80s in rock in particular. There was a band called the Kinks back in the 60s.
I definitely know them. Lola, right?
Yeah, Dave Davies, founding member of the Kinks. We have little dialogues every now and again.
Oh, that's so cool. I am so humbled to share your story, Phil, on my humble channel.
Ashley Campbell, Glenn Campbell's daughter, she's an amazing musician herself. Plays banjo, piano. She's definitely her father's daughter. And he was an amazing guitarist.
Oh, yeah.
And his story is pretty amazing in that he had advanced stages of Alzheimer's disease and did an entire tour with his family. He couldn't remember things that happened earlier in the day, but when he got behind the guitar, he remembered everything.
That's so amazing how the brain works.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's another musician by the name of John Waite that did
Mhm.
a song called "I Ain't Missing You at All" back in the '80s.
Missing you. Yeah.
Yeah, he's following my page as well. And then a guy named Bob Jackson from a band that the Beatles first signed on called Badfinger. So, a few of them, like, really good to get their moral support.
All right, Phil. So, how can people support what you're doing at the MS Center?
Yeah, it's through the Swedish Foundation. And when you're there, you can actually select the MS Center for a specific place you want to donate to. And that will help keep their programs going. They've got an unprecedented amount of programs that are designed to get people back to quality of life that they had before they were diagnosed, which is unusual for an MS center. Usually it's about physical therapy and that kind of thing. But they have stuff like the music therapy. They were the first to have that back in 2012 when they opened up. They've got adaptive cycling, adventure programs, adaptive skiing, adaptive horseback riding, all kinds of things.
And get back your music.
And get back your music.
Well, I was just so inspired when we connected, and then I watched a little bit of the news feature. It was just so inspiring to see you, and I saw Patty jamming.
Yeah.
It was also validating for me too, just because neuroplasticity was a part of my journey. So it's just really wonderful to connect with you, Phil. And I'm so glad we could chat today.
Me too. And you're a good example of the fact that neuroplasticity, I mean, it's part of us from birth. And I like to call it our built-in superpower because,
love that.
I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. You could be a painter, a skier, or whatever you do. If that's your passion and you lose it due to a neurological condition, you can get it back with willpower, persistence, and repetition.
I love it. That's a great way to end on a perfect high note. Yeah. Oh, I just made a pun.
Yeah, there you go.
Is it focused?
No, kind of blurry. That's better. There.
It's sharp?
Yeah.
Can you see his hands?
Yeah.